you have to start somewhere with the discussion. And so I just remember taking a deep breath and launching in. And I think one of my first phrases was, there's no easy way to sugarcoat the information I'm going to share with you, so I'm just going to launch in and we're going to get into it. That's sort of the way it started.
I am a survivor of domestic violence and sexual assault. My husband at that time was a law enforcement officer. And it was very hard to try and call the police because no one would come. You know, we had a daughter. I really wanted her to have that relationship yet with her dad and for her dad to have that. But I also needed to know that she was going to be safe.
So I moved back home to Washington State, fleeing a domestic violence from my son's dad. There was an opportunity to apply for a job with the police department as a clerk. And so I got to review all the police reports and, forward them on to victims of crime. And I said, oh, that's what I want to do. I believe I've always been a natural helper. I wanted to help other people, to empower them to be able to move forward without violence.
I knew about domestic violence and sexual assault, but once I started working as a victim advocate and learning how big the problem is in Native country, I was extremely shocked. And from then on, I just became very passionate about helping women and men with, victimization.
I was a survivor of a domestic violence situation, and I thought the smartest thing I could do would be to go work in law enforcement. There was a certain safety about being connected to law enforcement and knowing that if I picked up the phone and dialed 911, somebody was going to respond.
Yat she Cherylnisk I Cohen in she, Nanist Esha Tachin in Schlendot since a Kadni Ebashachin, Twidajini Dasha Che Dot Asche Dashanala, a whit out the ne astanchle. And that is how I am woman of the Navajo Nation, the Net tribe.
My name is Nikki Finkbonner. I'm a Lummi member and a Klamath descendant.
My name is Laura Fierro, and I'm the executive assistant and bookkeeper with WomenSpirit Coalition.
I am Erica Hankin. I am an enrolled Port Gamble-Sklallam tribal member.
My name's Dee Koester. I am registered with the Lower Elwha Klallam tribe, and we're coming to you from the traditional lands, customary lands of the Klallam tribes, of which there are 3 bands, Port Gamble, Jamestown, and Lower Elwha. What I like to say about WomenSpirit's origin story is it started with me visioning. How could we as one organization fit 29 different tribes? The one thing I knew from past history was we couldn't be owned by any one tribe. So the only way to do that was to become a private nonprofit.
And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to move towards WomenSpirit, was to be able to work for many different tribes other than just my tribe.
The other part was sort of how to keep 29 different entities happy with our service. I needed to serve them and not have them serve me. WomenSpirit is a servant-led social service agency.
So by being an umbrella for the tribal nations in Washington, we're able to give them the guidance without everybody having to reinvent the wheel themselves.
In 2006, WomenSpirit received its Department of Justice Office on Violence Against Women Tribal Coalition Grant. That started the wheels turning for us to be able to start developing and implementing coalition goals and objectives. What WomenSpirit does really is look at any of those violence against women issues and decide where we can have the most impact. We are the voice for the victims and survivors. And sometimes we're the only voice, unfortunately.
I've been in this work for over 40 years now. It's become a passion. It's my life work now. I hear their stories and I'm able then to just be able to connect with them and know that, you know what, your journey now is about surviving and what it is that you need to be able to do now for yourself.
The importance of this kind of work is for people to have a place to go when they're in crisis. Those of us who work in this field, our ears are always in tune to what resources are out there and how it all connects and who helps who.
Working for WomenSpirit, I'm able to help many, Native women or men. It makes me feel like my job matters, like I matter, what I'm doing matters, and that I'm just really making a big difference.
So one of the main challenges that we face is parity in funding. In an ideal world, WomenSpirit would be funded equally with other organizations that are similar. There are many examples where there's disparity in funding between tribal and non-tribal entities. So it's always a battle to make sure that we're heard, we're seen, we get included in laws that affect us, we get our fair share, and that's just an ongoing challenge for tribal organizations.
We've seen new funding sources, but we've also seen 4 times as much funding for client assistance as there was in the beginning.
Some of the main services that I've been providing with people lately have been, our rental assistance has been a big thing. We don't only just pay for people's rent, we can help them pay for like their utility bills or back rent. We can help people get their cars fixed. We can help maybe pay their insurance.
The number of clients that we are contracted to serve has also doubled since I've started working.
WomenSpirit Coalition is very essential to all our tribal organizations. They know what's going on, like federally and within the state. They help our people move forward because I know a lot of our tribes are scared to apply for state grants because there's a lot of work to do behind them.
One of WomenSpirit Coalition's first posters that we did was called From Invisibility to Visibility. Every time I talked to somebody, especially policymakers, they weren't recognizing or even really thinking about the impact their policies and laws would have in Indian country. Unless we were seen and heard and invited to the table by policymakers, we weren't ever going to have a voice that was heard. It's been 20 years of making ourselves visible and showing up at tables and being willing to participate in work groups and always moving outside our comfort zone but staying within our mission and vision.
One vision that I have for WomenSpirit is to be able to provide our clients with legal services. I get asked a lot for legal advice, so that would be a huge asset.
The vision for WomenSpirit Coalition I like to see is, a family resource center. I think that would be a benefit to all our people and like a one-stop shop.
It's bringing co-located services together in one location so that victims don't have to go to 10 different locations to access services. And I see that happening in Sequim, Washington, where our administration office is. I would like to thank staff, tribal programs, domestic violence, sexual assault advocates, our national partners, our sister organizations, our crime victim programs, coordinators, directors, funders, especially, that allow us to do the work that we do. It is with their compassion, their expertise, and their strength that we move forward and look forward to another 20 years.
WomenSpirit and the vision of, seeing a nation without violence is really important. And how that needs to continue, that's an awesome vision.
I'll be waiting for you. Please come home again. was wearing a dress.
Cheers! Happy anniversary!
She was sharing my smile. With all my soul, I miss you. Please find the strength